Welcome to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for JMCSS. This morning, we're visiting with Melissa Spurgeon, Chief of Staff for the Jackson-Madison County School System. We will discuss several important community partnerships JMCSS has gained through her work, as well as the impact of the JMCSS Gala. It's one of the initiatives Superintendent Dr. Marlon King created early in his tenure with JMCSS. If you're new to the podcast, I'll remind you that you can view this episode and previous episodes right now on our YouTube channel, or you can listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and radio731.com. Chief Spurgeon, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You were recently honored by the Community Foundation of West Tennessee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For your work in education. And I've worked with you for almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, I was reading the bio, I didn't realize you had worked in education that long.
Right.
But like many K-12 leaders, education wasn't your first career move. So if you would, tell us about that.
So I initially, going into college, I wanted to work for the Extension Service with the University of Tennessee. So all of the states have a land-grant university that provides the service with the Extension Service. So it is actually youth and adult education. Okay. So it's just a different realm. So I went to school with the goal of doing that. That was my career ambition. And so I did that for 6 or 7 years. I can't remember. I lose track now. Yeah. So I was an extension agent in adult and children education there with those programs. And then I transitioned. I got my my licensure and transitioned into K-12 education.
So in that role with the Extension Service, you did a lot of work with 4-H.
I did.
And
yes.
That's another kind of fun fact.
Right.
I think it was London Murphy or some students at Southside High School were involved in 4-H. And during that conversation, you were telling me that you had been in 4-H. We have more than 100 clubs and organizations for students in the public school system. I know you're a big fan of 4-H. I think about Debbie Goff a few weeks ago talking about the impact of 4-H on her sons and now her grandchildren. In your view, why is 4-H such a great opportunity for students?
So it was a big part of my developmental years in school. I started it in 4-H when I was in the 4th grade and was very involved and active all the way through high school and was able to, I got scholarships from that involvement. And I think it's cool to know that 4-H is not just agriculture. Oh. It's a lot of different realms. I learned public speaking that way. I think I was in different competitions, and it helped me in adult life to be able to carry on conversations with adults, look them in the eye, and things like that. And so it gives you a lot of life experiences that, due to curriculum and standards and stuff, we don't get to cover in K-12 education as much as all teachers would like to. So it's a very valuable program.
When Anita Tucker was at Southside, she would always say, the kids need to find their people, or the kids need to find their thing. Yes. They need to find their space. 4-H is that space for a lot of students. Esports is that space for a lot of students. Choir or athletics is that space for a lot of students. Thinking back on your reference as a teacher, why do you think it's important for students to be involved in something outside of the standard school day?
Well, I think it helps them to discover what their talents and their gifts are and what their interests are. Because if you stick strictly to academics, then really have you discovered those interests that you might have outside of. And like my interest in 4-H and my involvement in 4-H led me to begin my career with the Extension Service because I wanted to be a 4-H agent. And so I think that it's very important to expose students to a lot of different things. Not that they're going to be involved in all of it, but the fact that we do have 100 different clubs represented in our school system is very unique to school systems.
Fun fact, this is a reminder that ukulele is offered at Denmark. We're visiting.
Which would probably not be my talent. I'm just guessing.
We're visiting with Melissa Spurgeon. She's Chief of Staff for the Jackson-Madison County School System. Now, in your role as Chief of Staff, you work with the superintendent and you get to advise him in many items. But a big part of your role is also these community partnerships. You have a lot of speaking engagements.
Right.
You promote the school system. For you, what are those big three items maybe that you're excited to tell the community about? And disclaimer, I'm asking Ms. Spurgeon to limit it to three for this conversation. I know there are more than three, so
Sure,
if
yes.
she doesn't mention broadcasting at Southside High School, no one's feelings will be hurt. But for you, Melissa, the big three things that really stick out to you when you think about telling the community about our school system.
Well, I think about educating the community about our school system and the public perception of our school system and improving that. And so the first thing that comes to mind is school choice, because that is a hot topic in the nation, being able to have different opportunities and choices for students. And something that people don't realize with our public school system is that we have a great number of choices. You are not limited to, if you move to a certain neighborhood, this is the trajectory of the schools that your student will go to. So we have many unique offerings. We have Madison Academic, Early College High, Community Montessori, and Northeast Academic Academy that your daughter attends. And so those are application and lottery picks, and those are different studies, programs of study than just your typical traditional study. We also have JASA, which is our cyber school, which is in its fourth year of existence. That was birthed out of the pandemic, and so it's a hybrid approach. And so it is if you prefer having your children home for education, then this is a great option for you. But they're also involved in clubs and activities that they come up to the school. So it's a great model, and actually out of JASA produced the first e-sport teams and that competed nationally. And so a lot of great things are going on there. So just the opportunity to explain to parents and families that you do have many choices here.
Another fun fact about Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, we have partnerships with every college or university in Madison County. And so that partnership with Union University was kind of grown through Jackson Academic STEAM Academy, and the idea that homeschool students who are connected with the public school system are able to take classes at Union University. I know that's a big draw.
Yes.
So I asked you three. The first was choice.
Right.
That means there's two more. But I'm getting the rap from our producer that it's time to take a commercial break. So we'll sit on that for a minute, and you'll share that with us after this timeout. Before we go to commercial, we do need to remind West Tennessee residents who are interested in job opportunities in education or operational support, you need to be encouraged to visit jmcss.org/jobs this month to explore career opportunities with the Jackson-Madison County School System. We are visiting with Melissa Spurgeon. She's Chief of Staff with Jackson-Madison County Schools. You're listening to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools on JJ 97.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
What about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Jackson-Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know. Ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Jackson-Madison County Schools.
Good morning and welcome back to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools. We're visiting with Melissa Spurgeon. She's Chief of Staff with JMCSS. Now, Chief Spurgeon, before the break, I was asking you about those three big items you like to share with the community.
Right.
Because a big part of your role is community partnerships. I know a lot of times you kind of know when these folks move in from different industries, and so it's important for the school system to get that message out there. You talked about choice, school choice. What other two items do you like to talk about when you're out in the community meeting with businesses, community leaders, folks moving into Madison County?
One thing that I think has become very appealing is our innovation department for a lot of companies and industry, because we're stepping out and thinking about different ways that students learn, where they learn, how they learn, and when they learn. And our innovation department, which was started a few years ago, we have had many different opportunities for students. So that was where our esports, our robotics program, our green power electric car racing program, which has taken off dramatically. And then we have our Melissa STEM Innovation Center that opened. And I think you've probably had Dr. McSweeney on here talking about that. So those types of things, when we go and meet with companies, they're very interested in that, because we are doing it different with our innovation program. And so students are learning different, and they're getting a lot of those soft skills that companies and industries have said have been lacking, and yeah, they're very impressed, and because of that, they want to invest.
So we're visiting with Melissa Spurgeon. She's Chief of Staff with the Jackson-Madison County School System. You mentioned choice. You mentioned innovation. Earlier, you talked about public perception, which is so important. Because whether you've earned that perception or not, that's the perception you have to work through. If you would for a minute, talk about the Superintendent Dr. Marlon King, how in just 4.5 years, he's done a masterful job in improving public perception of the Jackson-Madison County School System. I mean, you've been right there.
Right.
Take us behind the scenes. How has he been able to do that? We know he's doing it because folks are partnering now with the school system who really haven't engaged with the school system before. How has he been successful in doing this?
Well, I think the number one thing is transparent communication, and he's done that. And he did that by hiring you when he started, as far as let's put a real communications department together. And then he has been out in the community. He is out publicly. He meets around the table with a lot of different stakeholders monthly. And when he's asked, he says yes when they want him to come around. And I think that he has internally worked on culture and climate to make a family, a real Jackson-Madison County School System family. And externally, he's worked on communicating that and saying, when you see that we're not doing something you don't understand or you don't like, then call me. Let's talk about it.
And that's funny because most people don't do that. Most people would try to hide an issue.
Right. Because he says, if you were in private school paying for money, paying for tuition, then you would feel like I should tell when something's going wrong. But he said we should be held to the same expectations. And so I think just that transparent communication and his investment, he's gotten involved in the community, in civic clubs. And so I think that has helped the public perception, and all of our results are just astounding improvement that we've had over the 4.5 years that he's been here. And that speaks volumes. So it's not just words, it's actually action. We are making those drastic improvements with test scores and everything, athletics, our arts, and our academics. And so I think that he spoke it, and now he's showing that it's happening.
This is a good time to remind the community JMCSS received Level 5 designation from the state of Tennessee for outstanding academic growth. So kudos to our students, our teachers, our families for getting the work done. And so according to new TCAP data released by state officials, there is significant evidence that our teachers are growing our students more than expected from that composite level. So that success and that growth across the district. You mentioned private school, and so I think the cool thing about your background is you provide both perspectives. You can sit down at the table and tell the superintendent, well, folks in this community may feel this way, folks in that community may feel a certain way. I guess it's easy on the outside looking in. Some people will just assume private school's better. I think the the better statement would be private schools just different.
Right.
Because certainly there's a lot on the public school side that we have that your independent schools don't have.
That's right. Yes. So, yes, I did 10 years of my education career in teaching in private school before I came over to public school. And I think you're exactly right. One is not better than the other. It's just a difference. I do think that in public education, because of just the number of students and the number of schools, we can offer more extracurricular activities. And you can kind of pick from different offerings at different schools where you want your child to go. Since we have open enrollment, you're not, again, bound to your zoned school. And but I think that the perception, and something that Dr. King has done well, is wherever you choose to send your child to school is your prerogative, but what we're asking for is supporting the school system. And a lot of that is just by word of mouth. Yeah. Because so goes the public school system in a community, so goes the success of the community overall. And so regardless of where your child goes to school, you should want the public school system to be successful.
We're visiting with Melissa Spurgeon. She's chief of staff for Jackson-Madison County Schools. I hope I don't get in trouble by doing this, but I'm going to list some of those companies that have really come to the forefront to support the public school system.
Yes.
I think about Toyota, 6K Energy, Georgia Pacific, Delta, Leaders Credit Union.
Right.
These are folks in the community who have said, we're going to support the public school system because they believe in the mission and they see the improvements. What's it like for you to have the role, to have the job of being out in the community, to talk to these stakeholders, to promote the school system? What is that like?
It's so different in just the 4 years that I've done it, because the first year I was out and about meeting and acquainting with them with this new role that I have. Now they're calling us to say, hey, we want to invest in this program, or we want to invest in that program. 6K Energy is a brand new startup company that came to Jackson about a year and a half ago. They are still in the process of building their plant, and this is a component of electric car, an electric battery for cars. But they called and said, I had met them and introduced myself and talked about the school system, but they called and said, we really want to be involved in the robotics program. And so they sponsored last year and are re-sponsoring this year our winter robotics tournament for the elementary. And so they're doing it. They're the named sponsor of that. And so I just called them up again, and they were like, sure. And Toyota obviously has been a longtime partner, but they have an institute named after them at Melissa's Innovation Center because of that investment. And they're not just a name sponsor, but they are involved in the training and in the curriculum. And I think that's real important, that a lot of times when we're asking companies to invest, we're not necessarily asking for money. Now, I'm never going to turn money down, but we're just asking for, come get involved in the school system. And then obviously Leaders Credit Union, longtime sponsor. Georgia Pacific, a new company in town, same thing, has just given us a pretty sizable donation that they said, how can we help? And so we're going to use that to start kicking off our student incentive program that's coming about. And then who else did I? Oh, and Delta. Delta called and wanted to do the shopping sprees. Remember, we named those winners.
Leap Up for Literacy.
Well, yeah, but they just did. Remember at the beginning of the school year when we did the kickoff?
Yes.
They did those teachers who won that $1,000 shopping spree. And then, yes, several of our donations go toward special initiatives like Leap Up for Literacy.
Two things I want to mention. So, yes, kudos for these companies for investing in the school system, but we're also connected to many businesses through our Loop program, where we have high school students going to work at these industries during the school day, so they're earning not only industrial experience, but also a paycheck.
Right.
And then, two, Melissa, let's say there's a mom and pop shop
Right.
in Madison County. Let's say they don't have the deep pockets like one of your big industries. Where does someone like that fit into this? Is this someone, are these folks who can call you if they
Sure.
want to engage? What is it? What
They
is it
can
like?
call me, or they can call the school that's in their neighborhood. We try to connect companies to schools that are in the vicinity. And our principals are doing a great job of reaching out and saying, hey, I want to do this neat thing for my students or for my teachers, and they're just stepping up. So I think it's a testament to the public perception and the great work that the whole faculty and staff are doing. Dr. King getting the message out that now it really is. It used to be hard. I mean, you were in the district for a long time.
Yeah.
I was in the district for a long time before the last 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
and we didn't see this then. So it's exciting, and just humbled to be a part of it.
Melissa Spurgeon is Chief of Staff for Jackson-Madison County Schools. We've talked about choice. We've talked about innovation, and I'm checking my notes, and we need to talk about growth. And we
Yes.
will talk about that right after this commercial break. But again, we want to remind West Tennessee residents who are interested in job opportunities in education or operational support. So you think about our transportation, you think about bus drivers, you think about cafeteria staff. This month, you need to explore career opportunities with Jackson-Madison County Schools. Just visit JMCSS.org. We've got one more break, so if you can stick around. You're listening to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools on JJ 97.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
But what about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Jackson-Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know. Ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Jackson-Madison County Schools.
Welcome back to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for JMCSS. This morning, I'm joined by Melissa Spurgeon. She's Chief of Staff for JMCSS and a very, 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 very busy woman. Not only does she work for the superintendent, but you're also a grandmother.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, 2 whole months. I'm doing pretty good at it.
Okay. Congratulations on that. So this morning, we've talked about improvements in the Jackson-Madison County school system. We've talked about school choice and the idea that no matter where you live in Madison County, JMCSS can be a benefit to you.
Right.
We talked about innovation, the changes in education that are new and innovative, like robotics, like esports, like green power.
Yes.
We've talked about those community partners who have really come alongside us to support the school system. We mentioned green power, and so the fact that the Hub City Toyota Grand Prix was held at Jackson Rockabilly Stadium for the 2nd year in a row.
Right.
And so just these opportunities for students. Now, Ms. Spurgeon, we want to talk about growth. Not just academic growth, but literal growth
Right.
in our school system. Our enrollment is up significantly over the last year when you compare October 2023 to October 2024. Tell us about that.
Well, I think as of just last week when I heard we're up about 500 students from where we were a year ago, which is phenomenal when you think about that there was a time period a decade ago where our enrollment was declining. And it's hard to, obviously a lot of that is because a lot of people are moving into our community,
Yes.
but then we're also having shifts in other areas. But as we look at that, it's very exciting, but now we have to look at long-range planning as far as making sure that we are equipped to continue this growth because, as you know, this region is growing because of a lot of industry that's coming and has already gotten here, and so we have to be prepared for that. One thing that I'm sure you see if you drive past, if you live out in the area is our new Pope School
Yes.
that's being built. And so right now, Pope has 600 and something, the upper 600s of students. We're going to add 2 grade levels, well, actually 3. So it's going to go from a kindergarten to 6 to a pre-K to 8. And so the capacity of the new building is 1,250 students, and it's really projected that it'll be full in the first couple of years that it's open. So a lot of neat growth that we're seeing, and so then that everybody's got to is getting their heads together to make sure that we are prepared for the continued growth that we're seeing.
You were recently honored by the Community Foundation of West Tennessee. Board member Andre Darnell was recently named to the TSBA Board of Directors. There's a lot of winning going on in the Jackson-Madison County school system. I'm sure that's cool to see. For a moment, if you would, your husband, Kyle Spurgeon.
Yes.
He's one of those leaders in the community who's not elected.
Right.
Just
like Dr. King.
Yeah, they're not elected, but
Right.
they're always in the headlines.
Yes.
Your husband was in Japan recently. Explain. So your husband is the CEO and president of the Jackson Chamber.
Right.
Explain that to a 5th grader. His role, because I know a lot of his role has to do with recruiting and attracting industry to Jackson. Those jobs help the families in our community. And it's a full circle type of thing. So, if you would, I know you work for a CEO. You're also married to a CEO. Explain that.
It keeps me busy. Those two. Well, the Chamber of Commerce here in Jackson is very robust. I think it's different depending upon communities that you go to, but they do focus on economic development, on bringing in industry, and then not only recruiting and bringing in projects, but then supporting the existing industry that is here in Jackson and community development. And so they have members that are, the largest industries in Jackson down to some of the mom and pop stores. And so they really service everything that has to do with the well-being of our community. As far as Kyle always says, we want to be a great place to work and to live and to play. And so, it does keep me busy.
He said, and I forget which meeting or public event this was at, he said, Jackson is the capital of rural West Tennessee.
Yes.
And, I mean, that statement really encapsulates a lot. And I've kind of put that in my back pocket because it does make total sense, particularly in education. The state of Tennessee will ask our school system to host different events.
Right.
And you have folks coming into the Jackson-Madison County school system to work and to learn for the professional development. So Melissa, you've worked in several education settings.
Right.
You told us about your job with the Extension Service. You told us about your time in private school. You told us about your time in public school. Looking at the Jackson-Madison County school system, why, in your view, is this a great time for folks to choose us? And I'm even looking at the district website. We know We Care is out there, which is that employee wellness initiative. In your view, because even from an employment standpoint, people have choice. Why, in your view, is it a good time for folks to consider working for the Jackson-Madison County school system?
So I believe this is my 17th year with the Jackson-Madison County school system, and never have I felt as taken care of as from an employee standpoint. We have seen a lot of investment into employees that we did not see in the past, and not just financial investment, which is very important, but the We Care program, the bonuses during COVID that showed, because we were frontline workers. I mean, teachers are frontline workers, and so to be recognized as that, and just the climate and culture of the professionalism that has been brought back to teaching, I think has been, it's a great time. As our boss, Dr. King, always says, he's going to make it hard for us to leave him, and he has, and absorbing the health benefit increase, because I remember in years past where the raise was pretty non-existent and the insurance premium went up, And so in August, I would get my paycheck and it would be less than it was the year before. And so teaching is a ministry like a lot of other professions, but you should be rewarded for what you're doing. You should be looked at as a professional. And I think the investments he's made has made that very clear to employees.
All right. Just a few seconds left.
Yep.
Best part of your job, and I know that's hard to.
Oh,
I know that.
You
I know
did not
that.
Tell me you're going to ask me this.
One of the best parts of your job is it being out in the community and bringing in partners. Would you say that's one of the best?
I think bringing in partnerships is very important, but I just have a real passion of communicating to the community the great things the public school system is doing, and to be a part of changing the public perception that we've had in the decades past. That's because public education, regardless of what you choose for your children, public education is educating every child, and we want the whole community to be prepared to be adults. And so I think that is that's my big passion.
For my part, there's a lot to say, but it's just been fun. Our district has a gala.
Right.
How cool is that? And that's something that, number one, I don't
Yes.
think would have been thought up without the superintendent. And for you to be out there building those partnerships to make it possible, and then those dollars going back into the school system to allow the superintendent to incentivize academics and to celebrate students. I mean, that's just to me, that's a really cool testament to your work, to the superintendent, to the changes that have taken place over the last 5 years.
And I think his State of the School address that he does at the gala there, so that's a two-pronged purpose for that gala, is to get the messaging out to companies. And, these are sponsorships from companies. This is not a party that's thrown for school system employees.
Right.
It's for companies. And so we were able to spotlight, and you and I make a great team in doing
I think
all
so.
that.
I think so.
I think so too. So just spotlighting the alumni and showing the professional. What am I looking for?
Well, I think
the companies and just what an asset we are in the community.
And I guess also on the communication side, we can get on Channel 7 or on the radio and we can tell folks, hey, we have an early college high school where they can earn college credit while they're in high school. You can go to the dentist office in 2 weeks and they'll say, hey, well, I didn't know that. And so I think just that every opportunity we have to tell the community, whether it's the business community or families, about the great things happening in the Jackson-Madison County school system, I just think that's a great opportunity and a need. So thank you for your work at the central office. Thank you for your work in the community. And congratulations on your award with the Community Foundation.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
You've been listening to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson-Madison County Schools. As a reminder, you can catch this episode and previous shows right now on our YouTube channel, or you can listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Radio 731. We hope you have a great Sunday morning, an excellent week, and we'll see you next time.